All right, good evening. It is Monday, May 2nd, 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the Prescott Planning Commission meeting to order. Roll call. Steve?
Here.
Steve
Most here.
Josh? Here. Connie?
Here.
And John?
Here.
And Lothar is going to be late.
Might be late.
So I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes for March 7th.
Make a motion to approve.
The second one.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. First item on the agenda is a resolution to approve the site plan for the construction of a self-storage facility at 1045 Warren Road. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor and Planning Commission members. So before you tonight, we are having a little bit of glitches with our projector, but the site plan before you tonight is a concept, or was a concept plan that was reviewed before Planning Commission on November 1st, 2021. It does sit on a 3.85 acre site next to the Dollar General, and then in between the Learning Center there as well on Oren Road. The applicant is proposing 7 buildings, one being climate controlled building and the rest are self-storage that are connected via exterior garage doors. And looking at the proposed plan and the buildings, it is currently C2 highway commercial in terms of zoning. It does meet all of the setback requirements as indicated in the table within your packet. There are 2 access points to the property. One will be off Oren Road. The other one will be off Lynn. There are no additional, there's a fire hydrant that's actually right to the north of the property. So Prescott Fire Department in reviewing it did not require any additional fire hydrants. You can see there in the table below, the climate control building by far is the largest at 21,720 square feet, and then the rest of those self-storage are considerably smaller there as well. The site will be served by a 6-inch water and sewer line. As I mentioned, no additional fire hydrants. Separately, the developer is required to submit for a sign permit. They are also, storage isn't required in terms of parking spots, but the office space that they are including, the 930 square feet, I believe it is, does require 3 parking spots, which are incorporated into the site plan. The loading zones are also required. Those are located at the rear of the climate controlled building along the entire south portion of that. And then finally, one thing that was not in your packet that is an error, there is some lighting requirements. All off-street parking area the lighting shall be directed away from adjacent properties and public streets so they do not exceed 3-foot candles at the lot line. We did require a landscaping plan and work through with the developer in terms of putting in a row of evergreen trees at the south of the property. So as it's fully developed, any one coming off Oren Road, that light wouldn't be polluting and that noise pollution wouldn't be as bad in terms of hitting that residential properties to the south of this lot. This is one area where the projector is not doing us any good. The upper right corner is the entry where those 3 parking spots are. You can see there the signage additionally with the windows, and then on the lower left, the developer isn't proposing any sort of brick or stone, but what they are doing is they're putting a considerable amount of glass and lighting there in the front. One of the things that many communities that do have architectural standards will consider things like brick and stone as class 1s, but they also consider glass in terms of windows that's lining the front there as a class 1 material. Prescott itself, we don't have any architectural standards, but that is one thing that is really going to help you overall look as you're going down Oren Road in terms of its development. Just to give you an image of what the other buildings are going to potentially look like, the developer did submit this picture, not so much to look at that main building, but the other buildings, and use it as a reference point for one of those garage doors and things will look like there as well. So the stormwater plan, one thing to note is if you look at the lower right corner, the stormwater pond does go over to the east into the neighboring property. We did require a temporary construction easement be approved by that property owner, which is assigned in your packet tonight. Additionally, the city engineer did submit, Cedar Corporation did submit Some concerns in terms of the stormwater ponding specifically as it relates to the Dollar General. Those will need to be addressed, dated that April 15th, 2022 letter. And additionally, we are requiring a stormwater management agreement be signed, which a draft of that is in your packet tonight as well, just so you have some reference, although we are working through a couple of changes that need to be made that the developer has requested and that Cedar Corporation is currently reviewing. So the approval schedule, we received the initial application on February 21st. We accepted the completed application April 13th. It's before you tonight, and then if it was approved, or if it is approved, it would go to City Council on May 9th. And then the conditions of approval, I won't go through all of them. Most of them have already been covered. I will just note the one below regarding the lighting in italics. That is one that would be added that was not included in your initial packet. So with that, I'll turn it over. There's a recommendation for approval of the site plan from staff. However, I'll turn it over to Planning Commission for comments or questions. Additionally, the developer, Ben Thone, is here as well to answer questions if you have questions on the proposal.
Anybody have any questions?
What is the concern with Dollar General's runoff that you mentioned? Is the concern with Dollar General's stormwater?
So maybe, I don't know if you.
I don't have my engineer, but I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I'll let Seth. I know a little bit about it, but it's more of a
engineering question. Good evening, Seth Hudson with Cedar Corporation. Greg couldn't make it tonight. He's actually the city engineer. But if we go back to the site plan, can I go back without messing everything up here? So the way things sit right now, the concern is when the 100-year flood event occurs. At that point, the lower, I don't know if I can, does this point?
No, it doesn't.
The lower left corner is the stormwater pond, and the way it's designed right now is that's kind of a little higher than the Dollar General, and so at a 100-year flood event, they would back up the pipe and could potentially back up into Dollar General's lot. That's the simplest explanation. So we're recommending that take a look at, and try to work that out. We might have to dig down a little bit or something along those lines, but that's the big issue. And I just wanted to share with everybody, because I found this very fascinating today. In 1995, the 100-year flood, which is a 24-hour event, we calculated at 5.5 inches of rain. Now, as of 2022, we calculated 7.33 inches of rain. So when we get rain, we get a lot more, a lot quicker. So that's the concern.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have a resolution, 1222, resolution approving the site plan review for the development of self-storage facility at 1045 Warren Grove, along with the addition of the lighting to be added to the resolution. Like a motion to approve the resolution? So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. So we're going to move that to City Council next Monday, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Magee Park. First part is a resolution to approve a certified survey map combining the 4 lots, including all Outlot 2 of Magee and Henniker's second edition, part of Lot Certified Survey Map Volume 3, page 15, document number 315094, and part of Outlot 1 of Alva Fowler's edition into one lot to be known as Irwin E. Magee Memorial Park. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor. Planning Commission members. So currently there are 2 parcels that are part of Magee Park but are adjacent to the park itself. One of the things the Parks Commission wanted to do was add all those lots into one, so it would make it a fully complete park. So they, the option that they did choose based on discussions with Cedar Corporation, our city engineer, was doing a certified survey map for the 4 parcels. Additionally, as part of this process, then we'd be updating our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan to show those amendments, those changes, to make it all one full map that would help us as we move forward with grants and other such financing for potential projects as we move forward. So there are 2 resolutions before you tonight for review, approving that resolution regarding the CSM, and then approving the amendment for the actual CORP, the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. Again, the screen's not helping me at all here, but the two current Magee Park lots are on the left there. It's hard to see them, but there are 2 additional lots that the city owns that are on the east, to the east of those current properties that are not currently part of that part of the park. So what the CSM that we're proposing before you tonight would actually take all 4 of those lots and combine it into one. So nothing too overly complicated. What the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, then the amendment to that is there's 3 separate pages that have maps of the Magee Park. So it's just updating those maps within the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. And if we have additional questions, I know Seth can answer them as well. Turn it over to the planning commission for comments or questions.
You kind of answered that when you said applying for grants. My question was designating those as part of the parkland rather than just outlots owned by the city. Does that improve all of our overall green space area along with whatever else we might need for our comprehensive plan?
Sorry, you asked me too complicated a question. Can you just repeat it again? So you're asking, does it improve our overall?
Basically, it just changes those outlots to the parkland so that we do have greater areas in which to apply for grant area and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the concept plan that was approved for Magee Park does actually include some of the areas that are outside of, within these 2 lots. So combining it all into one as we apply for grants, and Cedar Corporation works on that, just signifies and shows to our organizations that we're writing for, shows it all as one park. So you're correct.
I was just wondering what the advantage was, because I know that basically it's a holding pond and something else down there, so it was not going to be buildable anyway.
Correct.
That's why it was an outlot, but, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a resolution 1322, resolution to approve the certified survey map combining 4 lots, including outlot 2, McGee-Zineker second edition, part of the certified survey map, volume 3, page 615, document number 315094, part of outlot 1, Alva Howler's edition, into one lot to be known as Irwin E. McGee Memorial Park. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I make a motion to approve.
Second. A motion, a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so the next item is a resolution amending the City of Prescott Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan 2022 to 2027. That's part of this, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of a 2-part resolution, so. Resolution 1422, amending the City of Prescott Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. Need a motion to approve?
Make motion.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is Great Rivers Third Additional Concept Plan Discussion, Transportation Alternative Route Discussion. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor and Planning Commission members. So a little bit of background, the Most Family Partnership has developed the first and second phase of the Great Rivers development. They're here tonight before you as well. They're proposing the 3rd edition, which would add another 49 lots to the development. One of the things that did come up as part of the recent discussion is currently within the Prescott Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 6, calls for a planning arterial north-south route from State Highway 29 to US Highway 10, all the way down to State Highway 35. So on your right there again, not the greatest graphic that we're dealing with right now, but on your right there, you could see the proposed route that it would take from State Highway 29 all the way to US 10, which has actually been officially mapped. However, once we get south of Highway 10 and we work our way down to 29, that's really the question tonight, is what we want to have the discussion on as the most look at the overall development. They're trying to plan accordingly. So we want to have that discussion with Planning Commission members tonight. Sorry, I was hoping for a better image to work off, but
Matt, I do have a board, but
Yeah.
it's probably not gonna be any better
Okay.
than the graphic at that distance.
so the question really before you tonight is, we're looking at three options. Right now, in the third edition, what they're proposing is that this Sea-Wing Boulevard here would have lots that go around the existing park that's been dedicated, as well as these two cul-de-sacs that would be entered, as well as finishing off this road. However, if we were to move forward with what's currently within the comprehensive plan, it would basically be a high-speed bypass that would connect 10 all the way down to 29. So that would be kind of option one.
35.
35, sorry, 35, 29 is the one. That would be option one in terms of, leaving it as is within the comp plan. Option two would be more of a local connector, where we would require them to still do the right-of-way up to the property line. And if the property to the north ever did develop, we would require right-of-way to connect. And then eventually, as that area develops, we would have to make the expenditure to actually pay for the bridge, which would be quite costly. However, we are looking at a long-term plan. As right now, I don't think any of the property owners to the north of it have indicated at all that they want to develop. So then option three would just be not require any right-of-way. There's been talk, I know the most have discussed trying to make further Oliver to the east, the actual bypass. I can't remember what road that is offhand right now. Those are kind of the three options we wanted to discuss tonight with Planning Commission, so we could give the most some direction in terms of what we want to do with their future phases of development as it moves forward. So, really looking for discussions, and if people want more information, we can also take that back and come back later. But the three options, again, keep it an arterial corridor, which would, as described in our comp plan, would have limited driveways within that road. Downgraded to more of a collector road or local road, which you could still put driveways on, but eventually it would connect if those north properties ever develop. And the final option would be to just not plan for any connection in this area moving forward. And I know the most are here as well, if you have questions for them as well, so I'll turn it over to the Planning Commission.
Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or?
I don't have any questions, I just have a statement to make that I would prefer to keep that open as planned in the comprehensive plan for a through street. The number one option.
Anybody else?
I've got a quick question.
Go ahead.
You had mentioned that the most had an alternative route and you couldn't recall the street name. I'd be curious what that is.
1,200.
1200?
Okay, we've had this discussion before, when it first came before the city council. And, to bring it off 29 by half, down to Highway 10, and then from Highway 10 down to 35. And there was a lot of discussion, a lot of opposition from all the landowners involved. And like Matt said, if you take a walk up that dry run from Magee Park to where it intersects where it had come across, it'd take a pretty phenomenal bridge to go across there. It's a pretty steep up both sides. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going one way or the other. I'm just putting out all the options. If you drive out Hollister if you go from 35 Hollister to 1200 to 10 back to Prescott, it's about 10 minutes. So it's not a great out-of-the-way thing. The streets are already there. That's another thought, where 1200th could be improved, and so could Hollister. That's another option. Of course, that'd have to go through Oak Grove Township, but those are options. If you want to, move forward with what the comprehensive plan is, that's your choice. Just want to give you all the, options that are out there.
Reusing an existing road is probably 10% of the cost of no bridge. Something to keep in mind of the people's money.
Currently, the bulk of the traffic, like Holst and all the equipment, they're cutting across County Road E off of 35 over to 10 and then coming into Prescott that way. Everything funnels to the bridge. So, I get the whole idea of the bypass and everything. I just want to make sure everybody understands where we're at and what it looks like. I mean, if you want more time to think about it, that's good. If you don't, they are looking for, so they can move forward with their third phase. So we can't be dragging our feet too long on it, but if you need more information and more time, fine. If you don't, does anybody else have anything on that?
I have the same opinion she does. It's a comprehensive plan. We've been going through this for a long time. And you can just bet we change that, cut that off, and you watch the landowners out there gonna change their mind. The Rileys and the Eichmanns and whatever, all of a sudden, they don't have a chance, we don't have a chance, they decide they're gonna develop. That's what this is all about, planning for the future. We don't know when that future is gonna take place, but if you fill it all in with homes, you don't have a way. I guess that's all I have to say.
I do have a question for you. Do you have an alternative plan other than this one where you've already got the lots plotted, if that should become an arterial road? How do you plan on developing the other side of Seawing there? Or would you not have any houses up against the holding pond then, at all?
Well, number one, the corridor B would take out approximately 150 homes, okay, in that our development. And have to go down to the ditch, we check with
Lynn?
the engineering.
Could you come up to the podium, please, so everybody can hear you? Thank you.
Again, if that corridor B was to go in, to have more of a full-scale road through there, it'd have to go down through the ditch, okay, on both sides. There's steep, and it would need a 1,320-foot bridge in there to be placed, and that's just a bridge. They estimated the bridge would be anywhere from $5 to $7 million. That's just the bridge. You'd have to have tiling and everything else to Highway 10.
Right.
It'd be astronomical. The city doesn't have the money, we don't have the money. The state would not support that type of program either. And that's a floodplain down through there too. Jane sent me, we were gonna build down in that lower level and pump it up. But Jane said, no, you can't do that. That's a floodplain. The DNR says you don't touch that down there. So
Okay.
that's another factor that we had to consider too. So we would recommend the 1200 Street, because as everyone knows, it's getting more developed out in that area. That Hendrickson property is getting developed out there. Our property, Vandenberg's property. There's a lot of homes out there, and 1200 would be the most logical. They estimated about $1.5 million to $2 million to upgrade that road. It'd be $18 million to go with this project with the B operation. So, we're recommending that, down the road, if we're gonna look at future planning, we have to look at, what's gonna be the best alternate route. As the mayor said, Gene Schumer out there says all the trucks come up from Red Wing on 35, They don't want to go out through Big River and everything else. It's too hilly, it's windy, and so forth. So they go over on E, over to 10, down across, or they go to River Falls to 94 to go to Chicago or wherever. So that's the big trucks and everything else, and everybody else uses that to go to different parts of the area up there. So, and again, we're talking about 6 phases in our property. There's 50 homes per phase. We're talking 300 homes. Okay, we're recommending that we go into the 3rd phase, which would be another 49. That would just be about half of the development. Each phase has anywhere from 75 to 100 kids. We checked with the Mike Matzik on the school board, and he says there's 50 to 75 kids in each location. Okay, so we get that. We had a meeting with the superintendent. He says they're getting a little over $10,000 now per student. It was $8,000. I've personally worked with Scott Walker, the governor, before, and it was an old antiquated system that they had for the state, and now they revamped that. There was a bipartisan group that got together, and they revised it, and the smaller schools are getting more money, which is indicated by the $10,000. You take the $10,000, and at the, say, 100 kids per area, that's $1,090,000 per year, just for each phase. That totals $6 million, a little over $6 million in 1 year back to the school district if we develop these 300 lots. $6 million. Plus on your tax statement, you have 3/4 of that is school. Okay, that goes back to the school as well. So again, you figure an average of, say, $6,500 per property tax, and you take 3/4 of that comes out to about 1.3 million. So we're talking a total of $7 million back to the school system with our 300 plus lots. So that's a lot of money. Over 10 years, you're talking substantial dollars, okay? So again, if we jeopardize our development and run B through it, that takes out half the lots, and again, everyone loses on it. So, but again, we've looked at that quite extensively out there, and we've walked it, and we've had, some of the previous administrators out there and looked down those slopes. They're pretty steep, So we're recommending that, that 1,200 would be the most logical with the future, developments and everything else going in out there. Any questions that anyone have?
I do have a question, Lynn. I don't know if this is for you or for Matt or for somebody else, but since I'm new to this commission, has there been substantial talks with the state on how they might potentially put that road through there, or are they not interested? Was DOT, have future plans been talked at all with them?
Seth, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, it's not within the state's scope for the next, I think they scope, projects within that 7 years?
Yeah. So it's not on their list for the next 7 years, but you never know. I mean, it hasn't been on their list for the last, I don't know how many years when this was originally planned. Cedar Corporation actually did the cost estimates originally for it, so. And again, the northern part, as Matt pointed out, from 10 up, that's plotted and with the state. It's the southern part that's not.
So that's my second question would be, if 1,200 became that route instead, would then that get replanned to connect over more near 1,200, or would it be the existing connection from 29 down to 10? Would that be rerouted then?
That would be a process through WISDOT to decide how that works. I think that stretch from 10 north was to help that area eventually develop over time. So.
My understanding is that from the comprehensive plan is that putting this route through there would eliminate or reduce some of the traffic through downtown, which we all know, especially in the summer, downtown is a zoo, and so this would somewhat alleviate that downtown traffic.
And to help residents that are in that corner of the city who want to get up to leave.
Sure.
Right, now they have to come all the way around, right? The idea is to shorten
I have to
that.
bring a point here. the downtown business people don't like the idea of reverting, a lot of traffic. That, they're looking for all the business they can get in this town, So if you divert a lot of that traffic around, they go to Hudson or they go, the cities, Hastings or Cottage Grove, you're eliminating a lot of business. Again, I didn't emphasize the economic value of 300 homes in this area, both for the schools, for the businesses, for the whole community, And, we're doing it right. We're building it out there, 50 at a time or whatever, and we're doing it right. We've had this property in our family since 1864, and we're proud of the area. We're gonna do it right. But we wanna work with the city and work with you, in all directions. But going through that property would eliminate a lot of homes, So, and there's other alternatives too, so. Anyone else have any questions?
Any questions or comments?
How many, you seem to have a specific number, Lynn, of numbers lost by adding this road. What was that number? By adding this road, it would eliminate how many houses?
It'd be 300. You mean in a total 6 phases?
Sure.
Yes, it'd be 300. Cedar Corp did the initial study. I have a map here, and they said there'd be 345 homes in that section. And then across the Creek Valley too, we have property there next to Eichmann's and so forth, and next to the school up there. There could be another 50, 60 homes in there as well. So you're talking quite a few homes, number of homes there.
Did you ask about how many homes would be eliminated?
By the new road.
Yeah. Eliminated, how many?
Oh, eliminated?
Eliminated.
Well, 150 if you put the B section through there,
Okay.
so. And it's costly too. I mean, you're talking $18 million. That's, the state says they're not gonna fund a full-blown, I have correspondence, I have got a file this thick, and they said they're not gonna support that. The city doesn't have the money to spend it, we don't have it, so, and the most logical thing, spend $1.5 million, $2 million on 1,200, it's already there, it's an ideal situation, so.
And who does pay for that? Just out of curiosity. If there was the 1,200 was to be improved, who would be paying for that project?
I'm not sure. I don't know who would pay for that,
I don't think that 1,200 has ever been a discussion as a bypass, so that's just something that's been thrown out there.
It's outside of the city limits
Right,
right
so
now.
the city,
Right.
what does
Right.
the city have to
The
do with that, I guess?
extraterritorial statutes for the state says you have the authority to go 1 mile beyond the city limits. Our city limits to 1,200 is 3/4 of a mile, so you have authority on that 1,200 street, to work with it, okay?
Just to follow up, and Lynn's point is correct, however, within our comprehensive plan, we've never done that with 1,200, so we'd have to make some sort of amendment to actually say, okay, we're shifting this bypass over to 1,200. We do have the ability to try to work on that process, but right now it's not within our comprehensive plan.
And who pays for it is just as much up in the air as who pays for it where it is today,
Sure.
right?
Can I ask a question? Do you guys have the, I don't know, I'm sorry for asking, I'm Lynn
Come up here and
Sunquist.
ask your question,
Oh,
please.
sure thing.
That way we're on TV. You can say hi to your mom if you want.
All
Tell us who you are.
right, good deal. I'm Lynn Sunquist,
Okay.
and I'll probably be the one dealing with this at some point down the road, because it looks like it's gonna be down a ways. But I was curious if you guys, if the commission had all the cost analysis of what it would cost to put in the bridge and the roads through this, because it sounds like it's just kind of a discussion right now, and there was a comprehensive plan, but we've been doing the research and finding out the actual cost, and when you're talking $17 million in today's dollars, if you start looking at this 10, 15, 20 years down the road, what's that gonna cost, and does the city have those type of resources to, complete a project like that? So I was just curious if everyone has the cost of what it would cost to do this plan in front of them, if that's been part of what's been presented to you.
No, we do not.
No? Okay. So, obviously, we like choice 3, right? That's obviously, for a lot of different reasons, but I think before a decision is made on putting this, etching it in stone, so to speak, and saying, hey, this is our comprehensive plan, I think a cost analysis should really be done on different options to see what the best, again, if you're dealing with the entire city, developments, tax dollars, everything else, you have to weigh out not just what it's gonna cost, but what you're giving up in tax revenues and revenues for the school as well, and doing a comprehensive cost analysis and saying what really is best for the city and the citizens of the city. That's just my 2 cents. I'll give you your podium back.
Any other questions?
Anybody?
We'd like to,
I do have one more. So option 2 was a connector route, is that correct? Would that require the same type of bridge, just as expensive, or would that be less costly? Just curious.
I guess one of the things I'm not certain about where the $17 million comes from in terms of if they're talking about the entire road going from 10 all the way down to 29, is that where that 17 million, or 35, sorry. I'll get it right by the end of the night. Is that where that 17 million comes from, is actually constructing the road plus the bridge?
plus the bridge, yeah.
So, to answer your question, John, if we did option 2, the idea would be the developer would develop the local connection all the way to the bridge, and then if the other side ever got developed, they would develop a road all the way to the bridge, and then the city would actually just fund the bridge construction, which still, I think, from what I understand, was $8 million or somewhere in that range, but.
And if you guys looked at that, Lynn, as far as how many homes, if option 2 were to be considered, how many homes would that eliminate from the future project?
Well, we're gonna put a road in there anyway, okay? So that road, I think we've talked about that road would not be a full-blown bypass. It'd be just a road in there, okay? For general traffic and so forth. So we would put the roads in, that bridge would go into that other hillside, which is owned by, Oak Grove Township. So we go down to the ditch to the bottom, but then up in a hill there, that's owned by Eichmann's and the Riley family there. So they'd have to work with that. And
I'm just curious, I mean, it was mentioned that if we don't do this full-blown 4-lane bypass deal, that then that road could never connect if the Rileys and the Eichmanns did develop in the future. But if a road's gonna be going over there anyway, could that not happen in the future? I'm just curious.
no, I think there's other alternatives, again, 1200 Street to go through. See, if you walk down through that valley, I think a number of people from Cedar Corp and so on walk down through that valley, that creek valley goes up about another quarter mile or so, and then it reverts straight north, okay? So going up to that point, up there, you go straight across, there's no bridge needed, except on our property. And then you got the Vandenberg property that has been developed, there's homes there, so you can't go through that. So you'd have to go a little more east on that, so.
And 1200 is the first,
Yeah.
basically spot.
1200 is like 0.8 of a mile from our property line. So that makes the most sense. And again, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that's gonna all be developed with homes in there again, As Dan Bowles owns that property there on the other side of Vandenberg's, and so he probably would develop that eventually too, so. But 1200 makes the most sense of anything, I think, so.
Sure. One last question, is there any plans in place to improve Hollister? Is it 570th?
No,
Yep.
The deal with Hollister, okay, as you come off of 35 and go up Hollister, half of that's city property, half of it belongs to Oak Grove Township. As you get to the top of the hill, it all becomes Oak Grove Township. So that would be on Oak Grove Township to develop,
To improve that road would be on Oak
or,
Grove.
get an agreement or whatever, but that ends, they have their land annexed. So the city property ends at the top of the hill on Hollister. So that'd be another discussion for another time if that was the route we were gonna go.
okay.
So what exactly are we looking for here tonight?
I think we're looking for direction on how we want to let the Mouse know in terms of develop future phases of their development, if we want to
Okay, so
stick
then we
with.
need a general consensus on what, whether we want to go with the comprehensive plan or the alternative plans, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we split both of us.
Can you bring those three options back up, Matt? I'm just kind of wondering how different option 2 and 3 really are in practicality.
Well, I think, number 2, he would be able to build houses on it. And it would just be like a
It would
street.
just be like a 2-lane road.
Yeah, it'd be regular.
I think Lynn was
street.
saying that there's gonna be a road anyway.
Right, and then take that up to their property line.
Yeah.
And then, if they ever developed on the other side, they bring a 2-lane road in to there, then it would be up to the city to connect that if so desired.
Right.
That's be option 2.
And it's gonna require a bridge regardless.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
A smaller bridge.
A small
Yeah,
bridge.
smaller.
Go from 4 lanes to 2 lanes.
Right.
Right.
But the $8 million is, I was trying to remember how old the $8 million cost is. It's gotta be 8, I've been at Cedar for 7 years and it was done before I was at Cedar, so that
So
cost is
16
old.
million.
Yeah, probably.
So-
Oh,
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a while, just.
But,
So, I guess just to go over the, if you're fine with it, Mary.
pardon me?
I was just gonna go over the options
Yeah, go
quickly.
ahead.
So option 1 would be keep what's currently in place to Lynn's point, that's would do away with about 150 homes. Option 2 would be making it more of a local connection road, we'd still need a bridge, but the bridge would be smaller to Seth's point. We'd get rid of a few homes, but we wouldn't be doing away with nearly as many. And then the final option would be just require no connection and not have to deal with the bridge. And I guess we could eventually then, or we could looking at our comprehensive plan and trying to make 1200th the bypass.
So I have a question. With option 1, it sounds like that plan's been being developed for a long time, right? I mean, that's what I'm gathering. It's
I
to
think-
make it a bypass, which means it's gonna be a 4-lane road.
So,
Right.
and Seth, jump in if I'm wrong, 8 years ago, I think the city looked at it, came up with the cost analysis for just the actual developing the road and the bridge. From what I understand, though, it hasn't been looked at really since then.
Why was there a thought to have a 4-lane road there, though? I would be curious if there's a reason for that. I mean, I'm not informed in that regard, but
It was like a 30-year plan, wasn't it, when they did it?
Yeah, being
4-year
with
plan?
the future development, with the amount of houses and stuff that could go into the Eichmann and the Riley, it would, be, there could be a lot of traffic. I guess it was speculated that, it'd be better for it to, more throughput, faster. And then with limited connectors, there wouldn't be driveways at every, there'd be limited ones if you put in the 4-lane road. Put in the 2-lane, then you could connect to it on all the driveways.
So again, the difference between option 2 and option 3 is just option 2 is bringing that 2-lane road all the way to your the boundary. That's really the only difference.
And putting a bridge in.
Well, at some point, maybe in the future,
Yeah.
right?
But for now, it would be right, it'd bring that road right to their property line, to the edge of the ravine. Any other questions or anything? Okay, so then we need an idea where we're going. What's everybody's feelings? I know Connie and Steve want to go with option 1, am I correct?
Yes.
Anyone else?
I like option 3 the best, or option 2 as a second.
Steve?
Is there a compromise that can be made between 1 and 2 in regards to like the driveway activity and things of that nature? It could be a modification between the two that we could control the road a little better in that regard.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a concern, but I mean, we're pretty,
I don't think.
We're talking-
You're talking either a 4-lane or a 2-lane, I think, so I don't think that's kind of the next step down from the 4.
I guess
right, but one lane would be like no entrances, or
Very few
2-lane would be,
City street, basically, in my mind. You got driveways at 50 feet.
Can I point and talk?
I think so.
I'm going to point and talk.
Okay,
And hopefully people at home can, and feel free to correct me here, but, so the couple of things. The way the topography is now, this drops off. So for them to get their road to the very edge of the property line is gonna be a little tricky. They have to bring a lot of fill in today to do that, so just to be fair, so everybody understands that. They have a road currently that comes up here. This was roughly the area that we were talking about putting the 4-lane in. So the idea would be under 2 to get it up there, and they'd probably have to have one house, 66-foot right-of-way lot, if you will, not be developed. So if this was to ever continue, it could continue. Right? So, and then back to your question, this is one road with all the lots off of it. It would be really hard to limit those many driveways, because then they would lose the homes on both sides of that street, if you're trying to balance. That's just the challenge with the topography and how it's laid out.
So
There's
what's-
really nothing you can do to really change that stretch through here because of that.
sure, so then we would just, it wouldn't get developed? It wouldn't have homes on it?
Nope,
Is
you have
that-
the road, and there's enough to have a home, but there's no way to limit how many driveways there are on this road,
Sure,
which I think was your question.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
This is just a typical street, right, 2 lanes versus the 4-lane all the way through. If the 4-lane goes all the way through, you're gonna lose all those homes. That makes sense.
yeah.
Did I
Thank
get that
you.
right?
That's
Too close?
And that's why we recommended number 3.
But the 2-lane road could go in, because that's what they have platted now, and you just get it as close as you can to the property line. And
So
they're
in
done.
option 3, in case the Eichmanns and the Rileys did develop, there would still be, there would be no connection road at all, because it'd all be homes and no connection, okay. Thanks for clarifying that.
Okay, so we have 2 for the comprehensive plans that stand. Josh would like to go with option 3. Steve?
on a personal note, I joined the commission to be involved in the community in regards to these types of decisions. I just kind of cringe every time something gets decided that I think is foolish in the grand scheme of the city long-term involving all the residents. And not putting a road through there would be, I think, a mistake, is my opinion. And so I would go for 2 as a terrific compromise. And, you know, I would love to get more informed on the conversation, but as of tonight, that's where I would think is 2.
Number 2?
So I'm with Steve on this. Agreed. I think that there's potential major benefits for any road to go through there. I think a 4-lane road, I think, is excessive there. I would like more information as well. I want to see some, you know, more developed numbers on what that bridge might cost in 10 years, things like that. What's the state willing to kick in for it? You know, the city's not going to come up with $20 million for a bridge right there. That wouldn't benefit the residents of Prescott. But I would like to see some more information, I think, before, you know, making a decision. Say no, let's just end it now and say no road will ever go through there. I think that's, you know, a little final.
Yeah, it would be nice to know this year's cost.
Yeah. And then also, I think, you know, 1,200 I think is a viable option as well. I think Hollister is in dire need of some improvement. It's pretty narrow. And if you put a lot more traffic on that road, it's going to be dangerous, frankly. So I know maybe city doesn't have any authority over that right now, but working with the township to make that 1,200th connector a better option, maybe.
So it kind of sounds like we need to bring this back. Is that acceptable?
Yep, so we'll work with Seth and our city engineer to at least come up with some cost estimates for a bridge, for a two-lane.
It's kind of looking like they're leaning towards option 2. So now, okay, 2 people that are sitting on the planning commission tonight will not be here at the next meeting. We'll have 2 new faces. What?
I won't be here next month.
Oh, I mean, they're.
New people.
We're gonna have new people completely. So we probably do need to bring this back and then, but we will take your options into consideration and bring those forward as stated.
So we can put together cost estimates for the two-lane, just doing the bridge as an option number 2, and then the 4-lane option 1, which is developing the whole road all the way through with the 4-lane bridge.
Okay? Everybody happy with that? All right. Thank you, good discussion.
No.
All right, now we're down to other business. All right,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.